Yeah, tough way to lose there. Big credit and a lot of respect for Coach Odom. I've known Coach Odom since I was 16 years old, when he was working for Seth Greenberg, Virginia Tech, and he recruited me when I was down in Florida. I've always enjoyed our conversations. He's a brilliant coach. I knew back then he would be a head coach just by the way he communicated and studied the game. And he's succeeded everywhere he's gone. And he's been at every level of college basketball. It's no surprise that they're doing what they're doing at Virginia. Our game plan tonight, I think, was spot on. Our coaching staff did a great job. Our players did a great job to hold a really good offense to 61 points. 37% shooting, I thought was fantastic. The biggest thing we've been hitting on as coaches, and the guys can spit this out to you verbatim, because we talk about it every day. We practice it every day. To win close games against really good teams, which Virginia's a really good team, you have to make free throws and you have to rebound at a high level. And tonight, I don't know exactly what our lead was. I think it was 8 or 9 there in the second half. Under 10 minutes, you got to find a way to keep that lead. But there was a stretch there where I don't know how many, I'll watch it on film, but it seemed like they had 4, 5, 6 offensive rebounds and just a handful of possessions. And that to me is where the game was won for Virginia. And obviously we had chances down the stretch, they had chances down the stretch. But they're the best rebounding team in the ACC for a reason. And I thought in that stretch, they just went to work on the glass. Secondarily to that, a lot of praise for Jakari White. Jakari was someone we tried to get in the portal. He's a Florida kid. He's been struggling this year with an injury. But for him to put on the performance he did tonight off the bench, when really the rest of their team was struggling to score, was very impressive. He's a big-time competitor. Same thing going back to high school. He's succeeded at every level. And when a shooter like that sees 1 or 2 go in uncontested, I know a couple of them were deep, like 5, 6, 7 feet behind the three-point line, but our hands were in our pockets. And when a great shooter sees the ball go in, that psychologically that rim gets bigger. And you saw it once he gets going. We lost him a couple of times defensively, which was on us, but a huge credit to him. He almost single-handedly won them the game tonight. My message to the guys after the game, and I know they're hurting right now. I'm hurting right now. We knew we could compete with this team. We know we could compete with anyone in the ACC the way we're playing. We're still building something really good here, and that takes time. That takes learning how to win close games. And in this recent stretch, we've won some. We've lost some that I feel, and I think everyone in our locker room feels like we could have won. But that's a sign of a program, to me, moving in the right direction, that no matter who we're playing, we're right there. And the next step we have to do all the little things at a higher level than the opponent. And that boils down to taking care of the ball, making free throws, rebounding, defending, and ultimately knocking down some shots. We generated some great looks tonight that didn't fall. And we're going to continue to play this style, and hopefully moving forward we can pull out some of these wins.
Was the final shot attempt what you guys wanted out of timeout, or did UVA take something away?
Yeah, there was a couple different looks in that play. We ran that play at the end of the Florida game, and Rob made that shot. That's the first option. If he can tight curl and catch it on the run into a three-point shot, it's really hard to foul. We thought they were going to try to foul. So that was the first look, and then there's a couple cross screens for another shooter coming off. They did a good job switching those and blowing up a few of those options. I think we might have missed Rob on the initial curl, and then Rob kind of just had to post up and get it in and fire one up. I couldn't tell if there was contact or he just sold it. But again, a credit to Virginia's defense. They're a really good defense for a reason. They're smart, they're fundamentally sound, they're physical. And down the stretch, they just got it done.
It's a deep Virginia team. They've got a lot of depth, and you mentioned White coming off the bench. I mean, how difficult is that? You guys go up 9, they get a fresh group in there, and it seems like it's a whole new game. How hard is that to cope with when you're on the sidelines?
Yeah, at that level, I think most teams are deep. You know, they're a top 15 team in the country. They're top 3 in the ACC. If you look at all those teams in the top 3, 4, or 5, I'll put it delicately. There's a reason they're in the top 3, 4, or 5, and that's from top to bottom. And I won't get into detail on that, but they're deep for a reason. And I think regardless of budget to put teams together, I think Ryan did a fantastic job putting that roster together. The DeRitter kid was the focus of our game plan. And to me, he's one of the best players in the ACC. That kid's been playing professional basketball for 5 years and at a high level, like high level leagues. I played in one. Coach Jim Moran played in another one, the ACB. He's been playing against grown men with like kids and mortgages, and like that's like a big time professional atmosphere that he's been used to playing in. You can tell, and we did a great job 1 through 5 guarding him and taking away some of the actions that he's really deadly in. He's a great driver. He's physical. He's built like a tank. He can rebound. But when you have a player like that on your team, and then you go down the list and it's like grown man, grown man, grown man, grown man, grown man. It's tough to beat those teams. And I thought we gave every ounce of what we had, and that's why we were right there in the game. But Ryan has done such a phenomenal job putting a roster together. That wouldn't surprise me, especially with their age and experience, if they can battle the top of the league when it comes conference tournament time.
Taylor.
You mentioned aside from Jakari, they were having trouble shooting the basket. How impressed were you with your defense? Keep them outside. They pass the ball so quickly, just keeping those shots away from them.
Yeah, they really know how to play. They share the ball. They're a little methodical offensively with their ball movement, and it's tough because you have to sit in gaps against their drivers, especially DeRitter and a couple of those other guys that can really get in the paint. But as soon as you sit in the gaps, they're off the ball, and it's moving somewhere else. And again, we didn't lose that game because of our defense. We lost our game. We lost that game, in my opinion, once the shot went up. That's the most important part of defending, is finishing the possession with physicality. You got to hit first. You got to hit second. If you don't have a job, you got to find a job, and then you got to pursue the basketball. And if you watch that stretch, their pursuit to the basketball and their physicality of just not accepting box outs was really impressive, and it won them the game.
Corey.
What can you say about Leger's performance? You said that's one of the best rebounding teams in the country. I think he had 13. He just seems to be, every game he's giving you more and more, it seems like.
Yeah, he's been super impressive. You know, there's been moments in the season that were low for him. Emotionally, I think at times too, not just by his performance. Like he's his harshest critic, which is a sign of a good competitor. But he's done such a good job. He and Chauncey, and I know Chauncey had a really quiet night tonight and missed a couple wide open ones early. I'm without a doubt confident that he'll bounce back. He's had such an unbelievable stretch for us. But Leger, speaking of Virginia's roster, like Leger's a grown man, and he plays like it. He's older. He's a senior. He's played at all levels of college. Played junior college. Played high level, low college, mid major. Like he's seen some stuff. And with games like tonight, we're probably not in this game without him stepping up the way he did. And it's not just the 20 points and starting off hot early and scoring those 12 early. It's his presence. You can feel him on the court. He's guarding all over the place. He's battling for boards. And I'm gonna keep saying it. Rob's our guy. He's our most consistent guy, top to bottom. The ball's gonna be in his hands a lot. He's done a phenomenal job leading this team. But when Leger Jones and Chauncey Wiggins step up, we're a really, really hard team to beat. And it's because of their size, their presence, their maturity, and their combination of that size, presence, maturity with skill. And those are good players that are going to make a ton of money playing basketball after they leave Florida State.
Taylor.
You did your part to help bring the fans out tonight, and this is one of the coolest atmospheres of the season, obviously. How great was this for you guys, and what can you say to them to kind of continue to bring them back moving forward?
Yeah, I hope they had a good time. Someone yelled at me when I was walking into halftime that we need to do this every game. I don't think my wife would agree with that when she checks our checking account. But I was happy, again, when you're building a program, everyone has to step up in different ways. And sometimes entice people to come to the games when, you know, we're not a top 25 team. And the one thing I'll say about not just basketball, but Tallahassee in general, and you guys know this from covering sports here for some of you for a very long time, this town respects winning. And when you win, the fans show up. And when they show up, this is one of the best atmospheres in college basketball. I've experienced that as a player. I've experienced that coming back during NBA All-Star breaks and watching games. I was at that Louisville game that to me was probably the single best atmosphere I've ever been a part of at Florida State as a fan. And it's ingrained, you know, from the Bobby Bowden days of like, we're here to win championships. And that's what fans want. That's what they should want. That should be what we're all driving for, you know, from football, men's basketball, all the way down to every sport. This is a championship culture, and they respect winning. And so we got to do our part and keep winning games. That's the biggest, to me, enticement for fans to show up and have a good time. But while we build this, you know, we're not going to go undefeated, certainly this year or next year. I'm hoping we can put together a good product and find other ways, not only me doing my part, the administration doing their part, the student body doing their part of inviting friends to come together. I'm biased. I love hoops. I love football. I think it's a fun environment to come to, but it's the most fun when it's packed and it's loud and when they're a little intoxicated.
Everybody else in?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.